I want to welcome you both to therapy. Thank you so much for coming in today. Typically, I know that Claude is traveling this week, and so typically we'd be meeting in person. But I thought for this first session, it would be okay to do it on telehealth. So again, thank you for coming. Marie, thank you for coming as well. So a couple things I need to go over just as your new therapist. So first of all, you did sign the informed consent forms. Basically, that just means that you understand that you are giving your consent to treatment, and so any risks associated with that. I also need to let you know that I am a mandated reporter. So while our sessions will always be confidential, and you can feel like you can trust me to not to share your business, I do have to report anything that I hear that has to do with me thinking that you might harm yourself or others, or if I hear anything that is suggestive of child abuse or elder abuse. So just so you know, it is confidential, but within those bounds. So do you guys have any questions about informed consent or confidentiality before we get started?
No.
Marie, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, I looked at your intake sheet, and it looks like you are looking to do some couples therapy and better communicate, but also to do some full family therapy. So in future sessions, we can bring in your 2 children as well. So we will go ahead and get started by, I just actually want to hear the problem, your presenting problem from both of your personal perspectives. So do I have a volunteer to go first to let us know? And actually, before we get started, I just want to remind you, please be honest. This is a space where you can feel like you can communicate honestly and openly, but please also, be respectful of your spouse. All right, so do I have a volunteer to tell me about the problem from your perspective first?
Sure, I'll go.
Okay.
And I appreciate being here. I'm a little skeptical on how everything's going to go, but I'm tired. I'm at the end of, I'm just stressed out, and I feel like I need something's got to give at this point. So I'm really hopeful that you're able to get us some more clarity as to what's happening right now. I think what I can best summarize it as is, I'm just crazy busy right now. I'm going through nursing school. Having time to do this today was hard enough as it was. But we have 2 great kids, love them dearly, but it's hard being a parent. It's really hard being a parent. And both Pierre and I have different styles on how to handle things. One of our kids, Claude, he's just a challenge. I don't know a better way to put it. Nothing seems to be easy with him, and our approach with Claude is definitely not the same. Pierre very much tends to go towards yelling or hitting, not like a spank. And I'm not sure that it's working. I don't feel like I'm much of a parent in that space. Pierre's mom, whenever we're going through something, is just like, get over it, it's fine. Let him deal with it the way that he needs to deal with it. He's the dad. He's the one that needs to put them in their place. I don't necessarily think that works. And then we also have a sweet daughter, Eulalie. I call her ukulele. She's wonderful. We don't have much problem with her at all. Probably don't think that we're going to talk much about her, but yeah, I think it causes a lot of strife between both Pierre and I. And yeah, that's, a really high level synopsis. That's where I'm at.
So Marie, it sounds like you feel you're having a stressful time right now because you're going through nursing school and you feel very busy. And then on top of that, it sounds like you and Claude have kind of different ideas when it comes to parenting. He's more, you said kind of authoritarian, and you don't like that he uses physical force in his parenting. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm just not sure it's effective.
Okay. And it also sounds like, It also sounds like you have some, you don't feel like you're getting support because Pierre's mother, Pierre's mother always sides with him on it. Okay.
Yeah, it feels like sometimes there's a third parent and I'm not really part of the conversation.
Okay, I understand. Okay. So thank you so much, Marie. Thanks for letting me know kind of where you're at. Claude, can you kind of let me know your perspective? Can you tell me about the problem from your point of view?
Well, Claude is the problem. I am Pierre.
I'm so sorry, Pierre.
That is
Pierre, can
okay.
you please tell me about
But yeah,
the presenting
no
board?
worries. And ultimately, I shouldn't really call him the problem, but it's very, very frustrating. You know, I mean, he's always acting out, and I'm only doing, what my parents did to me. And that's why my mom sides with me, because I'm not abusing my son, but you gotta set a hard line. And and I'm trying to get Claude to understand, and I'm trying to get him to behave. And so sometimes I get a little sharp,
Mhm.
and maybe I hit from time to time, but it's for the benefit of him as a person as he's growing. And hopefully he'll learn from this, and then I won't need to do this. But
Okay.
it's but yeah, Eulali's great. She just does her own thing, so she's fine. But yeah, Claude can just make life at home very, very frustrating and very
Okay.
stressful.
Okay. So, Pierre, it sounds like you acknowledge that you do get pretty sharp with Pierre or with Claude from time to time. I thought it was interesting that you mentioned that that's the way you were parented.
Yeah,
And so that's why you think your mother often sides with you. That's very common. Family. There's something called family systems that we talk about a lot in the therapy world, and in that approach, it is true that families pass down their ways of thinking across generations. So that was that was a good thought that you had, and I think you're probably right. But do you understand how Marie might find that frustrating? Because she feels like maybe she's not getting the support she needs as a parent.
I guess so.
Okay. Okay. So I think I have a pretty good idea now of the problem. It sounds like, a lot of it has to do with parenting and maybe the two of you not being on the same page. I also think it sounds like maybe we could work on communication between the two of you as well, because that's also, that seems to be a bit of a theme here. You're not,
Good
maybe,
luck. I try and share with him all the time, and I feel like I get nothing out of it. If nothing else, I hope that there's something, because granted, I like to talk. That's the way that I process things, but it might be part of Pierre's background of being in the Army, but trying to share is not something that he's very open with.
so you feel that you try to share your feelings with him, but he doesn't reciprocate that communication.
Yeah, that's definitely my perspective.
Okay. Um, Pierre, what do you think? What do you think about that? Would you agree with that?
I guess so. I mean, I just kind of feel like some things are just not worth talking about. It's just not that big of a deal.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that communication is also something that we could talk about, communication between the two of you. One other thing I want to bring up, both of you mentioned that Claude is a problem, and that that's something you're actively working on is parenting Claude. I also heard both of you mention that Eulalie is no problem at all. So I'm
Yeah.
actually wondering, at one of our future sessions, I'd be interested to see what Eulalie's perspective is. I wonder if she feels like she's getting the attention she needs, or if she's kind of is it possible that she's being overlooked because she's more obedient than her brother? I'd be interested in getting her perspective. So that's something we could do at a future session when we have the kids here as well. We can also work on improving communication between the two of you and Claude, which can also maybe help resolve some of those problems. So thank you both so much for sharing your perspective. I know it can be tough to be vulnerable, even in front of each other and, in front of a therapist. So I appreciate you sharing your thoughts on this. I want to let you know a little bit about the technique that I'll be employing during therapy. Have you heard of cognitive behavioral therapy at all?
No.
It's pretty popular. It's definitely research tested. So it is, it's something that you'll see in a lot of therapy offices. So basically what we do in cognitive behavioral therapy, the general thinking behind it, and I'm going to show you a visual here. The general thinking behind it is that we have these thoughts, we all have thoughts that pop into our heads, and then the thoughts lead us to feel certain emotions, which then lead us to react with behaviors. Well, and that's just natural. That's the way humans, think and feel and then react. The thing is, our thoughts are not always necessarily based in reality. Sometimes we have distorted thinking patterns so if we have these distorted thinking patterns, that can lead us to these reactive emotions, and then that can lead to reactive behaviors. So what we'll kind of be doing in these therapy sessions, we'll be really analyzing your thought patterns, and I'll be looking for kind of some distorted thinking patterns. And then if we can adjust those thinking patterns, that can then adjust the feelings and behaviors or reactions that follow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A couple common ones, just to give you a little bit more background. Some of these distorted thinking patterns we often hear, all or nothing thinking. That's looking at things as black and white. That's a really common one. Catastrophizing, thinking that the worst is definitely going to happen, even though there's no evidence to back that up. Mind reading is a big one. So I noticed in your intake papers, Marie, you said a lot about how you think that Claude thinks that Pierre thinks that you're a bad parent. Do we know if that's based on reality? Has he ever actually said that?
I mean, he might as well come out and say, he doesn't say much else, but
can you his mind? Has he ever actually said that? Okay. Yeah, and then so we basically just want to make sure that your thinking patterns are based in reality, because we don't want these distorted thinking patterns without evidence behind them to lead to reactive emotions and behaviors. Does that make sense?
it does, but how does that change the fact that Pierre thinks I'm a bad mom?
I
Just
never
like
said you're a
nursing
bad
school.
mom.
So I think what the two of you are demonstrating right now is a little bit of distorted thinking. So I think, Marie, you don't really have any evidence to back up your thought, because Pierre has never actually come out and said that. And then Pierre, I noticed when Marie brought up this feeling that she has, your immediate reaction was anger.
Well, it's frustrating because we go through this all the time.
So another aspect of cognitive behavioral therapy that we'll be working on is mindfulness techniques. And that is basically coping strategies that we can employ to calm our mind and emotions when we do get upset. So, Pierre, next time Marie says something that, maybe gets you upset like that, I'm going to encourage you to take 3 deep breaths and then count to 10 before you react. So again, that just kind of gives us time to reflect before we immediately react with emotions. And we'll be working on these mindfulness techniques and practicing. So that's just a little bit about cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, what I want to talk about is kind of your treatment plan going forward. So as I said earlier, we will be using CBT. So we will be having sessions with actually your full family, where you will get to, I'll go around and ask people to talk about the problem from their perspective. And as we do that, I'll be listening for some of those distorted thinking patterns, and also that quick emotional reaction, so that we can target those thought patterns and behaviors and hopefully remedy, start using a little bit of logic and coping strategies to calm thoughts and emotions. So that's kind of your treatment plan going forward. The other thing we'll be doing is each week I'll be giving the family homework assignments so that you can work on the skills that we talk about during sessions, okay?
And the first homework assignment be keeping Pierre out of jail for the way that he deals with Claude.
Well, Marie, I definitely understand I definitely empathize and understand your perspective. I think another thought pattern that you just kind of demonstrated is catastrophizing. So, kind of like thinking the worst. So that's another thing. I don't mean to judge. I'm just pointing out that's exactly the kind of thinking pattern that we'll be addressing in our sessions. So for your first homework assignment, I actually would like you to both keep a journal of the thoughts that come to you related to this problem. Okay, so you'll be just kind of taking down notes in a journal when you have these like negative or reactive thoughts when it comes to either each other or your children. What we'll do with those diary entries when we meet next time, we'll be going through, I'll have you actually share some of your diary entries, and then we'll go through your journal entries and try to identify some of your thought patterns and talk about whether they're logical and they are evidence-based. So we can try to start deconstructing some of those distorted thinking patterns. So it is actually time. I know time goes fast. It's actually time to wrap up our first session. But again, I'm so glad that you came seeking help. Before we go, I would just like you both to tell each other one thing that you are grateful for when it comes to the other. So Marie, would you like to start? Can you tell Pierre something about your relationship that you're grateful for?
I'm grateful for our wonderful, healthy kids and for a dad that cares.
Thank you. Pierre, can you tell Marie something that you're grateful for?
I'm grateful for being married to such a wonderful woman who's a great mother to our children.
Thank you. That's, it sounds like there's a lot of good in your relationship. So we have a solid foundation to build off of. So thank you both for sharing that. Are there any questions before we go? So I do want to just to kind of review. Can one of you tell me what your homework assignment is before our next session?
So I'm to keep a journal, and when I have feelings around the problem issue, to just kind of record what I'm feeling.
Exactly. And then Marie, you'll do the same. Okay. So thank you again for coming in. And we'll meet as a whole family, and we'll meet in person next time. All right. Thank you both so much. And I will see you next week.
Very good.